Captain Elijah Reeves kicked a broken pipe on the floor of his ship, the Orbital Scrapper. Another job with little pay. His ship needed repairs, and his food supplies were running low. Life as a space salvage operator was hard, but it was all he knew. His communication screen lit up. A desperate voice called out, "Help! Raiders are after me. I will pay you well." Elijah sighed. He didn't need more trouble, but he did need money. "Send your location," he said. 2 hours later, Elijah's ship pulled alongside the damaged alien vessel. The merchant, a tall blue-skinned Trekshian, rushed aboard with only a small travel case and a shorter figure hidden under a dark cloak. "Thank you, human. You saved my life," the merchant said, breathing hard. "My name is Drav." Elijah crossed his arms. "That's nice. About my payment." Drav looked embarrassed. "I lost most of my goods to the raiders, but I offer something more valuable." The merchant pulled the cloak from the smaller figure beside him. Elijah saw a slender humanoid creature with pale silver skin and large golden eyes. Her head had no hair, but delicate patterns covered her skin. "This is a Valaxian, a rare servant species, worth 10 times what I owe you," Drav said quickly. Elijah frowned. "I don't deal in living cargo." "She is trained in many skills, very valuable at any trading post." Drav insisted. "Please, I have nothing else to offer." Elijah looked at the alien female. She stood quietly, her golden eyes watching him with an unsettling calmness. Something about her seemed wrong for a slave. She stood too proudly. "Fine," Elijah finally said. He could sell her at the next port and finally fix his ship. "Now get off my vessel." After Drav left, Elijah set course for Outpost 7, the nearest trading station. He pointed the Valaxian to a small storage room. "You can stay there until we reach the outpost," he said. The alien tilted her head slightly. "My name is Zora." Her voice surprised him, clear and confident, not what he expected from a servant. "Don't care," Elijah said. "I'm selling you at the next port." "No, you won't," she replied calmly. Elijah turned, annoyed. "Listen, I don't want a slave, and I need credits, so yes, I will." Zara stepped closer. "The merchant deceived you, Captain Reeves. I am not a slave." "Then what are you?" Elijah asked, suddenly alert. How did she know his name? "I am a guardian," she said. Her golden eyes seemed to glow slightly. "The last of my kind. And you have just become part of something far greater than you can imagine." Zara raised her hand, and a small crystal appeared, floating above her palm. It pulsed with blue light that filled the room. "That merchant didn't give you a slave as payment, Captain," she said. "He gave you the responsibility for the entire galaxy's future." Elijah stared at the glowing crystal. "What is that thing?" "The Galactic Nexus," Zara answered. "It controls all interstellar travel pathways. My people protected it for thousands of years. Now, for reasons I don't yet understand, it has chosen you as its new guardian." Elijah's mouth fell open. "Me? I'm just a salvage operator." "Not anymore," Zara said simply. "There are those who would destroy worlds to possess this power. They killed my people. They will come for us next." As if answering her words, the ship's alarm suddenly blared. Unknown vessels were approaching fast. The simple payment had just become the most dangerous cargo in the galaxy. "We need to run," Elijah said, rushing to the pilot's seat. His hands flew over the controls, preparing the orbital scrapper for a fast escape. "Who are they?" he asked, pointing at the screen showing 3 large ships closing in. "Hegemony vessels," Zara answered. Her voice was calm, but her eyes showed fear. "The coalition that hunted my people to extinction. They want the Nexus." The ship shuddered as the first enemy shots hit their shields. "Your ship cannot outrun them," Zara said. Elijah gritted his teeth. "Watch me try." He pushed the engines to maximum power. The old salvage ship groaned under the strain. The shield warning flashed red on the control panel. "One more direct hit and we're done," Elijah muttered. Zara stepped forward. "I can help." She placed her hands on the ship's console. The crystal, the Nexus, floated from her pocket and hovered between her palms. Blue energy flowed from her fingertips into the ship's systems. "What are you doing?" Elijah asked, eyes wide. "Sharing power," she answered, her voice strained. "The Nexus controls energy pathways. I can redirect some to your shields." The shield indicator suddenly jumped from 10% to full power. The next blast from the hegemony ships barely shook them. "That's impossible," Elijah whispered. "Now fly, Captain," Zara said. "I cannot maintain this for long." Elijah didn't need to be told twice. He steered the ship toward a dense asteroid field nearby. With strengthened shields, they could risk a path no sensible pilot would take. The hegemony ships followed at first, then fell back as the asteroids became too dangerous. When they were finally safe, deep in the asteroid field, Zara collapsed into a chair. The blue glow faded from around her. "You're not just any alien, are you?" Elijah asked, bringing her a water container. Zara drank slowly before answering. "My species, the Valaxians, were chosen long ago to guard the Nexus. It gives the user control over all interstellar gateways, the pathways ships use to travel between star systems. So whoever controls it controls all travel in the galaxy," she finished. "The hegemony wants this power. They attacked my homeworld 5 years ago. I am the last guardian left." Elijah sat down, trying to process this information. "But why me? Why did that merchant give you to me?" "He didn't know what I was," Zara explained. "I hid among servant classes, moving from owner to owner, staying hidden. But the Nexus has been searching for a new guardian since my people fell." She looked at Elijah with those unsettling golden eyes. "And it has chosen you." Elijah laughed, but it held no humor. "Me? I'm just a human salvage operator with more debt than sense." "The Nexus doesn't make mistakes," Zara said. "There is something in you, something unique to humans perhaps, that resonated with it. So what happens now?" "Now we must find a safe place. I need to teach you how to connect with the Nexus before that hegemony finds us again." Elijah checked his screens. Their hiding spot in the asteroid field wouldn't keep them safe forever. "I know someone who might help us," he said finally. "An old friend at Research Station Epsilon. If anyone can make sense of this, it's Dr. Natalie Chen." Zara nodded, then set course. "Guardian." "Don't call me that," Elijah said, turning back to the controls. "I haven't agreed to anything yet." But as he plotted their new course, he knew his life had already changed forever. The hegemony would never stop hunting them now. Research Station Epsilon floated like a small metal moon around a red giant star. Elijah approached cautiously, watching for any signs of hegemony ships. "Your friend can be trusted?" Zara asked, her golden eyes studying the station through the view screen. "Natalie is the only person in this sector I would trust with my life," Elijah replied. "And now, I guess, with yours too." After receiving landing clearance, Elijah docked the orbital scrapper at a private bay. He gave Zara a hooded cloak to hide her distinctive appearance. "Stay close to me," he whispered as they walked through the busy station corridors. "This place has eyes everywhere." Dr. Natalie Chen waited in a small lab deep in the research section. She was a short woman with intelligent eyes and quick movements. She hugged Elijah tightly when she saw him. 6 months no contact, and suddenly you need an urgent meeting," she said, punching his arm lightly. "You're lucky I still like you." Her smile disappeared when she noticed Zara. "Who's your friend?" Elijah closed and locked the lab door. "That's a long story." 20 minutes later, after Elijah had explained everything, and Zara showed the Nexus crystal, Natalie sat in stunned silence. "The gateway system that all ships use for interstellar travel is controlled by that?" she finally asked, pointing at the small crystal. Zara nodded. "It is merely a physical connection, to the true nexus, which exists partly in another dimension. Natalie turned to Elijah. And it chose you as its new guardian. You, who once tried to sell a ship engine that was still running. Thanks for the vote of confidence, Elijah muttered. Natalie began checking data on her screens. The hegemony has been increasingly aggressive toward human colonies. Now we know why. They must have learned humans could potentially connect with the Nexus. What do you mean? Elijah asked. According to my research, humans have unique brain patterns, Natalie explained. Our neural pathways are more chaotic than most species. We make intuitive leaps that other species find illogical. This is why the Nexus chose you, Zara said to Elijah. Humans can see patterns that others cannot. A loud alarm suddenly blared through the station. Red emergency lights flashed in the corridor outside. That's the security breach alarm, Natalie said, rushing to her console. Her face paled as she checked the cameras. Hegemony agents. They're searching the station level by level. How did they find us so quickly? Elijah asked. They must have tracked your ship, Natalie said, grabbing a bag and filling it with equipment. We need to leave now. I have a private shuttle in Bay 12. As they hurried through back corridors, they turned a corner and found 3 armed hegemony soldiers blocking their path. The aliens were tall with gray skin and expressionless faces. Surrender the Nexus, one commanded, raising a weapon. Zara stepped forward, the crystal glowing in her hand. But before she could act, Natalie threw a small device on the floor. It exploded in a blinding flash of light. Run, she shouted. The 3 raced down a side passage as the confused soldiers fired wildly behind them. Bay 12 is just ahead, Natalie gasped as they ran. Elijah realized with growing certainty that his old life was over. He was now a fugitive with the most valuable object in the galaxy, and somehow he had to learn to be its guardian before the hegemony caught them. Natalie's shuttle was small but fast. They escaped from Research Station Epsilon, just as more hegemony ships arrived. 3 days later, they reached a hidden asteroid base that Natalie called the Pocket. Welcome to the human resistance, she said as they docked. Not many aliens know this place exists. Inside, the base was busy with people working on computers, weapons, and ships. Many stopped to stare at Zara as they walked past. They've never seen a Valaxian before, Natalie explained. Your species was thought to be extinct. In many ways, it is, Zara said quietly. An older man with a scared face approached them. Chen, you bring strangers to our secret base now. Captain Wade, this is Elijah Reeves, Natalie replied. And he carries something that could change everything. In a private room, they explained about the Nexus to Captain Wade. He was skeptical until Zara demonstrated her powers by making all the electronic devices in the room float. So the gateway system we've been using has been controlled by her people all along? Wade asked. Yes, Zara answered. We maintained balance, ensuring no species could control all travel. Now that hegemony wants that power. Wade turned to Elijah. And you're supposed to be the new guardian. No offense, but you don't look like much. None taken, Elijah said dryly. I don't feel like much either. He needs training, Zara said. The Nexus chose him for a reason. I believe it's because of the human brain's unique structure. Natalie nodded. Humans think differently than other species. We make intuitive leaps. We're unpredictable. The hegemony hates that about us, Wade added. Their whole society is based on logic and order. Human chaotic thinking frustrates them. This is why they can't control your minds like they do with other species, Zara said, and why a human guardian would be their worst nightmare. Elijah sighed. Great, so I'm special because I'm chaotic. How do I actually learn to use this thing? We must create a training space, Zara replied. Somewhere you can safely connect with the Nexus. Over the next few days, a special room was prepared. Inside, Elijah sat cross-legged on the floor with the crystal floating before him. Zara sat opposite him. Close your eyes, she instructed. The Nexus responds to intention more than action. Feel its energy. Elijah tried to concentrate, but nothing happened. Day after day, they'd practiced with no results. His frustration grew. "This is useless," he said after a week of failure. "I'm not meant to be a guardian." "You're trying too hard," Zora said. "Don't think like a Valaxian. Think like a human." That night, Elijah couldn't sleep. He went to the training room alone and sat before the crystal. "I don't know what you want from me," he whispered to it. Instead of concentrating, he let his mind wander. He thought about his childhood on Earth, his first spaceflight, the wonder he felt seeing distant stars. Suddenly, the crystal glowed brightly. In his mind, Elijah saw what looked like a map of glowing blue lines connecting stars across the galaxy. He could feel each pathway, each connection. When Zora found him the next morning, he was still sitting there, eyes open but seeing something beyond the room. "The human advantage," she said softly, watching blue light reflect in his eyes. "You don't follow rules. You make your own path." Word spread quickly through the resistance base. The new Guardian had connected with the Nexus. Hope grew among the humans who had been fighting the hegemony for years. But for Elijah, his new abilities came with unexpected problems. Every time he connected with the Nexus, he felt more than just the gateway system. He felt the people who used it. "I can sense them," he told Zora one morning after another training session. "Millions of beings traveling through the gateways. Some are happy, some scared, some in pain. It's too much." Zora placed a hand on his shoulder. "The connection grows stronger. This is why Valaxians train from childhood to be guardians. The emotional burden is great." "How did you handle it?" Elijah asked. "We learn to feel without becoming overwhelmed," she said. "Think of it like standing in an ocean. You feel the waves, but you don't try to stop them." Captain Wade interrupted their conversation. "We've received reports from our spies. The hegemony is planning something big. They're positioning ships near Earth's gateway." "Earth?" Elijah stood up quickly. "Why target Earth?" "They know the new Guardian is human," Natalie said, entering the room with a data tablet. "Our sources say they plan to close Earth's gateway, cutting it off from the rest of the galaxy." "Can they do that?" Elijah asked Zora. "Without a true Guardian maintaining balance, yes," she answered gravely. "They've learned enough about the Nexus to disrupt gateways, but not enough to create new ones." "We have to stop them," Elijah said. Captain Wade shook his head. "We don't have enough ships to challenge the hegemony fleet." "Then we need more allies," Elijah said. He closed his eyes and reached for the Nexus. The blue network of pathways appeared in his mind. "There are others fighting the hegemony. I can sense resistance through the gateway network." "Other species?" Natalie asked, surprised. "Yes," Elijah replied, eyes still closed. "Some who've been hurt by the hegemony. Some who fear them. They're scattered, hiding like we are. We need to unite them," Zora said. "A single resistance could challenge the hegemony's power." Over the next week, using Elijah's new connection to the Nexus, they sent encrypted messages through the gateway system. The responses came slowly at first, then more quickly. A group of reptilian Sorens, whose homeworld had been stripped of resources by the hegemony. A colony of telepathic Medusan refugees who had escaped hegemony mind control. Even some rebellious members of hegemony species who disagreed with their leaders' plans. As their allies grew, Elijah's connection to the Nexus deepened. He began to have dreams of distant worlds and civilizations long gone. Sometimes he woke up speaking languages he had never learned. "The Nexus is changing you," Zora observed with concern. "Is that bad?" Elijah asked. "It is necessary," she replied. "But do not lose yourself, Elijah Reeves. The Nexus chose you for who you are, not for who you might become." As allies began arriving at the pocket, Captain Wade prepared battle plans. The resistance would strike before the hegemony could isolate Earth. Elijah stood at a viewport, watching the growing fleet of mismatched ships. Just weeks ago, he had been a simple salvage operator. Now he carried the fate of billions. The gathering storm would soon break. The Resistance fleet moved silently through the Scifi Nebula. 27 ships of different sizes and designs, united by one purpose: stop the hegemony from closing Earth's gateway. On the bridge of the lead ship, his old orbital scrapper now reinforced with Resistance technology, Elijah stood with his eyes closed, guiding them through the nebula's dangerous clouds. Normal sensors would fail in this soup, Captain Wade said, watching the purple gas swirl outside. But he's taking us right through it. Zara nodded. He seized the safe paths through his connection to the Nexus. Elijah opened his eyes. The hegemony fleet is just ahead. 15 warships positioned around the gateway relay station. They haven't seen us yet, Natalie reported from her console. The nebula is hiding our approach. Captain Wade's voice came through the communication system to all Resistance ships. Remember the plan. Hit fast, damage the command ship, then retreat. We just need to delay them until the rest of our allies arrive. The Resistance ships burst from the nebula like angry wasps from a nest. The surprise attack caught the hegemony fleet unprepared. Smaller fighters zipped between the massive warships, firing at engines and weapon systems. For a few minutes, it seemed the plan was working. 3 hegemony ships were damaged, and the Resistance had lost only 2 small fighters. Then the tide turned. More hegemony ships incoming, Natalie shouted. They must have had reinforcements nearby. 10 more warships appeared through nearby gateways. The Resistance fleet was now heavily outnumbered. All ships, retreat to fallback position, Captain Wade ordered. As the Resistance ships tried to withdraw, the hegemony fleet closed around them like a fist. Weapons fire filled space in all directions. We're cut off, Natalie said, her voice tense. No clear path out. Elijah felt panic rise in the crews of their allied ships. Fear, desperation, anger, all flowing through the Nexus connection into his mind. The emotions threatened to overwhelm him. Zara, he gasped, I need help. She moved to his side, placing her hands on his temples. Focus, Elijah. You are the guardian now. The Nexus responds to your will. Elijah closed his eyes again, feeling the blue pathways of the gateway system. The hegemony ships were connected to those same pathways, using them for navigation and targeting. If I can disrupt their connection, he whispered. With Zara's guidance, Elijah reached deeper into the Nexus than ever before. He found the energy patterns connecting the hegemony ships to the gateway system, and instead of trying to break them, he twisted them slightly. Across the battlefield, hegemony ships suddenly lost precise positioning. Their weapons fired at empty space. Their engines pushed them in wrong directions. Confusion spread through their fleet. Now, Captain Wade shouted, seeing the opportunity. All ships, full power to engines. The Resistance fleet slipped through the disorganized hegemony blockade, racing toward the safety of deep space. Back on the orbital scrapper, Elijah collapsed into Zora's arms, blood trickling from his nose. You did it, she said softly. You saved everyone. Not everyone, he replied weakly, feeling the loss of those who had died in the battle. And it's not over. The hegemony will recover quickly. Captain Wade approached them, his face grim but respectful. We've escaped with most of our fleet intact. That's a victory, even if a small one. Elijah nodded tiredly. The connection with the Nexus had drained him completely, but he had glimpsed its true potential, and his own. Next time, he said, we do more than just escape. 3 days after the battle, Elijah still hadn't fully recovered. He lay in the medical bay of their hidden base, drifting in and out of sleep. In his dreams, he saw strange visions of ancient civilizations and stars being born. Zara rarely left his side. She watched him with growing concern as blue light occasionally flickered beneath his closed eyelids. His connection to the Nexus is changing him faster than I expected, she told Natalie. No non-Valaxian has ever connected so deeply before. Natalie checked Elijah's brain scans on her tablet. His neural patterns are evolving. It's like his brain is rewiring itself. Captain Wade entered the medical bay. We need him back on his feet. Our scouts report the hegemony is gathering a massive fleet near the central hub. The central hub. Zara's golden eyes widened. That's the main control point for the entire gateway system. If they take control of it, they could shut down all gateways at once, Natalie finished, cutting off every world from each other. In his bed, Elijah stirred. He had heard them talking, but their voices seemed far away. Something else was calling to him. Gentle blue pulse that felt like home. Asterisk, follow the path. Asterisk, it seemed to say. Asterisk, see what you must become. Asterisk. Elijah's consciousness flowed along the blue pathways of the Nexus. He saw the history of the galaxy unfolding before him. Ancient beings creating the first gateways. The rise and fall of countless civilizations. The Valaxians accepting their role as guardians. And he saw something no one had told him. The Nexus was alive in its own way. Not a tool, but a partner. When Elijah finally opened his eyes, everyone in the room gasped. His normal brown eyes now had rings of blue light around the pupils. Elijah, Zara said cautiously, are you all right? He sat up slowly, feeling different, stronger, but also strangely calm. I understand now, he said. The Nexus isn't just a control system. It's alive. Alive. Natalie looked skeptical. Not like us, Elijah explained, but aware. It's been guiding us all along. He turned to Zara. Your people didn't just guard it. They were its voice. Zara nodded slowly. The oldest Valaxian teachings say something similar, but that knowledge was lost over time. Elijah stood up, steadier than anyone expected. I know what we need to do now. The hegemony doesn't understand what they're trying to control. They think the Nexus is just a tool for power. And what is it really? Captain Wade asked. It's balance, Elijah replied. It connects all worlds, all species. No one was meant to control it completely, not even the Guardians. We work with it, not over it. He walked to the center of the room where the crystal, his physical connection to the Nexus, floated in a secure container. When he touched it, the entire room filled with blue light. The hegemony is planning something at the central hub, he said, something that will harm countless worlds. We need to stop them. How? Captain Wade asked. Even with our allies, we don't have enough ships to challenge their main fleet. Elijah smiled slightly. We don't need to fight their entire fleet. We just need to reach the hub's control center. I can use the Nexus to disrupt their plans from inside. That's impossible, Natalie said. The hub is the most heavily guarded location in the galaxy. Not for a guardian who understands the pathways, Elijah replied. His eyes flared with blue light. And I know a way in that the hegemony has never seen. The orbital scrapper drifted silently through what appeared to be empty space. Inside, Elijah stood with his hands on the control panel, his eyes glowing blue. Are you sure this is safe? Captain Wade asked, looking nervously at the view screen that showed nothing but darkness. We're in a fold between normal space and gateway energy, Elijah explained. The hegemony can't detect us here. Zara watched him with pride and concern. No guardian has attempted this in thousands of years. The old records spoke of hidden pathways, but most thought they were just legends. Beside them, Natalie checked her equipment. The central hub should be appearing any moment now, if your calculations are correct. They are, Elijah said confidently. Suddenly, a massive structure appeared before them. A giant silver wheel with spokes extending in all directions. Hundreds of ships moved around it like insects around a hive. The central hub, Zara whispered. The heart of the gateway system. Elijah guided the ship toward a small, unmarked opening on the hub's outer ring. This is an emergency maintenance port. The hegemony doesn't know it exists because it's not in their stolen records. They docked without being detected. Elijah, Zara, and Natalie prepared to enter the hub while Captain Wade remained with the ship. "Remember the plan," Elijah said as they put on environment suits. "We get to the central control room, broadcast the truth about the hegemony's plans to all worlds, then disrupt their attempt to shut down Earth's gateway." "And if we meet resistance?" Natalie asked, checking her stun weapon. "We avoid fighting if possible," Elijah replied. "The Nexus doesn't want more violence." They moved through narrow maintenance tunnels that hadn't been used in centuries. Elijah led the way, following paths he could see through his connection to the Nexus. Finally, they reached a side entrance to the main control center. Through a small window, they could see hegemony officers working at control stations. "There's Admiral Korath," Zara whispered, pointing to a tall, gray-skinned alien with elaborate markings on his uniform. "He led the attack on my homeworld." Elijah studied the room. "Something's wrong. They're not preparing to shut down Earth's gateway. They're doing something else." Using a small device Natalie had brought, they listened to the communications inside. "Begin Phase 1 of the Ascension Protocol," Admiral Korath ordered. "Redirect energy from all minor gateways to the central hub." "Ascension Protocol?" Zara looked confused. "I've never heard of that." Elijah's face went pale. "He's not trying to control the gateways. He's trying to use their combined energy to reach another level of existence. The Nexus is showing me what will happen." He turned to the others with horror in his eyes. "If he succeeds, the energy drain will cause every gateway in the galaxy to collapse at once. Billions will die. We need to stop him now," Natalie said, readying her weapon. Before they could act, an alarm sounded. "Intruder alert. Unauthorized presence detected in Sector 7. "They found us," Zara said. Elijah made a quick decision. Change of plans. "Natalie, get back to the ship and warn the Resistance fleet. Zara and I will try to reach Korath." As Natalie reluctantly left, Elijah turned to Zara. "We may not survive this." She took his hand. "As long as the Nexus continues, there is hope." Together, they stepped out to face the heart of their enemy. Chaos erupted in the central hub as alarms blared. Hegemony soldiers rushed through corridors, searching for the intruders. Elijah and Zara moved quickly, using Elijah's connection to the Nexus to avoid most of the patrols. "The main control room is just ahead," Elijah whispered. His eyes glowed brighter as they got closer to the hub's core. Two guards stood at the entrance. Before Elijah could plan their next move, Zara stepped forward. Her hands glowed with blue energy, and the guards collapsed unconscious. "They'll wake up in an hour," she said, seeing Elijah's concerned look. "No permanent harm." Inside the control room, Admiral Korath stood before a massive console. Energy pulsed through transparent tubes above him, all flowing toward a central chamber. "Stop," Elijah shouted. "You don't understand what you're doing." Korath turned slowly. His cold eyes widened slightly when he saw them. The new Guardian and the last Phylaxian. How unexpected. He smiled without warmth. "And how convenient. I was worried I might need to hunt you down after my ascension." "There will be no ascension," Zara said. "Only destruction. The gateway system wasn't designed for this." "Of course it wasn't," Korath replied. "Your people were too afraid to use its true potential. But I have studied the Nexus for decades. I will transcend this limited existence and become something greater." Elijah felt the Nexus responding to his presence. Blue light began to spread from his hands to the control panels around them. "I can't let you do this," he said. "Billions will die if you continue." Korath laughed. Such concern for others. How typically human. He pressed a button on his uniform, and energy shields suddenly separated them. "But you're too late. The process has begun." Outside, through the viewports, they could see gateway energy being pulled from all directions toward the hub. Stars seemed to dim as the power flowed. Elijah placed his hands on the energy shield. The Nexus responded, flowing through him, but Korath's technology was strong. "I can't break through," he said to Zara. "There's another way," she replied quietly. She removed the crystal from her pocket. the physical connection to the nexus that had started their journey. Take this. Complete your bond with the nexus. What do you mean? Elijah asked. No guardian has ever fully merged with the nexus, she explained. It was forbidden. But you're not bound by our rules. What will happen to me? I don't know, she admitted. You might lose yourself, but it's our only chance. Through their bond, Elijah felt her fear, not for the galaxy, but for him. I'll find my way back, he promised. He took the crystal in both hands. As soon as he did, blue energy engulfed him completely. His consciousness expanded beyond his body, flowing into the nexus itself. He saw everything at once, every gateway, every world, every being traveling between stars. He felt their hopes, fears, and dreams as if they were his own. And he saw Korith's plan clearly now. The Admiral would absorb the nexus energy, becoming a godlike being while destroying the connections between worlds. From somewhere distant, Elijah heard Zora's voice. Find your humanity, Elijah. Don't lose yourself in the vastness. His human mind struggled to maintain control as the nexus pulled him deeper. Then he remembered who he was, not just a guardian, but a human who had once been a simple salvage operator, who had accepted a strange alien as payment, who had found purpose in protecting others. With that anchor, Elijah began to direct the nexus energy, not to fight Korith, but to save the gateways. The final battle for the galaxy had begun. The central hub shook as energy surged through its systems. Outside, the resistance fleet had arrived, engaging the hegemony ships in a desperate battle to buy time. Inside the control room, Admiral Korith stood in a column of crackling energy, his body beginning to transform. Parts of him glowed and became transparent as he absorbed the power of collapsing gateways. I can feel it, he shouted, his voice distorted. The power of 1,000 stars flows through me. Across from him, Elijah hovered several feet above the floor, surrounded by blue light. His physical form rippled like water as the nexus merged with every cell of his body. Zara watched from below, her golden eyes wide with wonder and fear. The two beings before her were becoming something beyond normal existence. Through his expanded consciousness, Elijah could sense gateway after gateway beginning to fail across the galaxy. Worlds were being cut off. Ships were being stranded in deep space. Panic spread as the network that had connected civilization for millennia started to unravel. You're destroying everything. Elijah's voice echoed, no longer sounding entirely human. Korith laughed. I am becoming everything. A god needs no subjects. With his new awareness, Elijah saw the truth. Korith wasn't just power-hungry. He was terrified of humanity. The hegemony had discovered that humans could connect with the nexus in ways other species couldn't. Their chaotic, creative minds threatened the ordered control the hegemony had maintained for centuries. Rather than risk humans spreading through the galaxy, Korith had decided to ascend beyond physical form and remake reality as he saw fit. Elijah reached out through the nexus, touching every failing gateway simultaneously. He couldn't fight Korith directly. The Admiral had already absorbed too much power. But Elijah had something Korith didn't: understanding of the nexus as a living partner, not just a power source. Help me, Elijah whispered to the nexus itself. Show me the way. The answer came not in words but in feeling. Balance, connection, harmony. Elijah stopped trying to prevent the gateways from collapsing and instead guided their energy. Instead of flowing to Korith, he redirected it to create new patterns, new connections. What are you doing? Korith screamed, feeling his power source diminish. Creating balance, Elijah answered. With a gesture, Elijah connected directly to Korith's mind, showing him what he saw: not godhood, but unity. Not power over others, but connection with them. This is what the nexus truly is, Elijah said. Not a weapon or a tool, but a bridge between all living things. For a moment, Korith's expression changed from rage to wonder. Then his face hardened again. No, I will not share power. Then you will have none, Elijah said sadly. With a final surge of energy, Elijah completed his work. The failing gateways stabilized in new configurations. The energy Korath had gathered dispersed, flowing back to where it belonged. The admiral screamed as his transformation reversed. He collapsed to the floor, once again just a mortal being. The battle outside the hub ended as hegemony ships lost power, and the resistance broadcast the truth about Korath's plans to all worlds. Slowly, Elijah descended to the floor. The blue glow faded from his body, though his eyes still held rings of light. Zara rushed to his side. "You did it," she whispered. "You saved everyone." Elijah smiled tiredly. "Not just me. We did it together. You, me, the Resistance, and the Nexus itself." In the days that followed, a new council formed, with representatives from all species, including humans, who were no longer seen as primitive outsiders, but valued for their unique perspective. The orbital scrapper, now permanently bonded with crystals of the Nexus, became the headquarters for a new order of guardians drawn from all species. And Elijah, once a simple salvage operator who had reluctantly accepted an alien slave as payment, found himself the teacher of the next generation of guardians who would maintain balance in the galaxy. As Zara often reminded him with a smile, some payment plans come with very unexpected terms.